So last week, I released part 1 of this 2-part series about how to avoid burnout in residency. For those of you who didn't get a chance to watch that video, I'll include the link up here. Just as a recap, tip number 1, therapy. Tip number 2, take care of your body. Tip number 3, don't forget your hobbies. Tip number 4, talk to people outside of medicine. Tip number 5, settle for good enough. Number 6, learn to say no. I feel like it's really hard for us folks in medicine to say no when an attending asks us, do you want to help me on this QI project? Do you want to join me on this research project? Maybe you should write this paper up. You should write this case up. As a result, it's really easy to overcommit. I know I always overcommit to QI projects, research projects, all these residency program eval committees, wellness committees. As pre-meds, we were trying to be the most well-rounded person to get us to medical school, and I feel like some of those traits are still ingrained in us to try and do everything. As a result, it's really easy to say yes to all opportunities that come up. But now that we're in residency and time and mental resources are limited, it's more important than ever to prioritize your responsibilities and see what is important to you, what's going to help you towards your future goals, what you can cut out of your life. Sometimes that means saying no to a project, saying no to that poster presentation, even saying no to family and friends when you really, really need to catch up on sleep. Number 7, speak out against the system. Often in residency, it's easy for us to feel like we have no control over our schedules, our rotations, how many patients we get, which patients we get. But when you find something that you feel very passionate about and there is a way to make a change, I highly encourage you to try and do so. For example, our program has intern and resident teaching every week. It is a protected 2-hour chunk of time that's blocked off so that interns and residents can get didactic teaching, which is very important and very helpful. But at the same time, we residents felt like on a call day, it was very difficult for either the interns or the residents to go off to teaching for 2 hours because there was so much work that was just piling up for 2 hours, and it was really hard to catch up when you got back. And on a regular call day, when you're already there till 8 or 9, admitting patients, writing your notes, tucking them in, being 2 hours behind can mean staying until midnight sometimes. And so we talked to our leadership and expressed our concerns about how this was causing more stress. We couldn't really focus on learning. We felt like it was unsafe for patients and just overall not good for our well-being. And our leadership listened to us. It took a while, but after repeated feedback, our program agreed to exempt call day teams from having to go to intern and resident teaching. Being able to stand up and speak out can make you feel very empowered. Number 8, circle of control. So this is something that our leadership shared with us when the pandemic hit. It's called Circle of Control, and it's meant to help us realize what is within our control and what is not, and help us prioritize our energies. So here in the outer circle is a circle of concern. So these are things that we care about and can affect us, but we have little or no control over. So in residency, some examples would include the pandemic, stay-at-home orders, strangers' behaviors, whether they wear masks or not, past choices or behaviors, and other things such as politics, the economy, the weather, housing costs, traffic. None of these are things that you can control, so you should save your energy and not try and worry about these things. The next circle is the circle of influence. So these are things that have a more immediate impact on your life and things that you have a bit more influence over. For example, these would be things like the number of pages you get from nurses, the number of patients on your list, the number of admissions you get, how sick your patients are, team dynamics, your colleagues' thoughts, words, and action. So these are things that are worth investing some energy into because you can influence the outcome. However, these are not completely under your control. So these are things that you can try your best to change and yet realize that even after you've tried your best, you might not get the outcome that you want, but that's okay. For example, you can try your best to give your patient the best care, but sometimes they're just really, really sick and need to go to the ICU, and if that's the case, it is not your fault. You've tried your best, and that's all you can ask for. I know for me, I really took on my colleagues' burnout and tried to make everyone feel better, feel more positive, have a bit more wellness, and yet trying to do so made me burn out really hard because this is not something I can fully control. And so what I had to learn is that This inner circle, this circle of control, is where I should be investing all of my energies. These are things that I have 100% control over, including my own thoughts, my own actions, my own reactions, my attitude, my work ethic. And if I invest all my time and energy into things that I can control, I can never be disappointed. Number 9, count your blessings. There's been research that shows that one of the best ways to counteract burnout is to practice gratitude. I've never really gotten into journaling, but one of the things that I have been doing is logging 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. This just puts you in the mindset to reflect and remember all the good things that happened during the day. And even on your worst days, there's still things to be grateful for. The fact that you still have some semblance of normalcy, you have a job, you have social interaction at work, you're able to care for patients, and hopefully you're doing something that you love. I know I'm grateful for my family, friends, my colleagues, the delicious foods that I can eat, this beautiful weather in California, the hikes that I'm able to go on. I would encourage you all to keep a gratitude journal and see how you feel after 2 weeks. Let me know if you try it. And last but not least, if you've tried everything that I've mentioned above and you still feel very burnt out, ask for help. As I'm filming this, I'm actually on a 2-week break from residency. I was in a really low point where I felt like I couldn't deliver good patient care and I just didn't feel like myself. And so I reached out to my program leadership and asked for 2 weeks off just to recharge and reflect and think about how I want to approach the rest of residency. I know one of the things that I've realized is that I definitely feed off the energy of people around me, and everyone around me is super burnt out. And as I mentioned before, I kind of took that upon myself to try and fix everyone's wellness, and that wasn't good for my own mental health. So I know for me, I'm going to be reflecting a lot on that circle of control and come back to work with a different focus. I'm so grateful for my program leadership and my colleagues who are filling in for me and allowing me to take care of myself. Residency is really hard, and so I encourage you, try some of the things that I mentioned above, but if all else fails, ask for help. Take that break. Take care of yourself. And if you feel guilty about needing that time off like I did, just remember that your patients deserve your best. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope maybe even 1 or 2 tips were helpful. Residency is really hard. You've put a lot to get to where you are. Know that you're doing great. Be kind to yourself, and know that there are people here to help you. If there's anything I can do, please reach out. Take care of yourself. Bonus reel. Look at my plants. Shout out to Pammy who made this beautiful pot. I should probably make a future video about my plants. People would definitely unsubscribe.